Hey, you guys, and welcome back. So, in a minute, I'm going to talk about how this whole conversation about the things that are going on with all these hurricanes being weather manipulation and how that conversation relates to what you see in the book of Exodus between Moses and Pharaoh. Okay, I'm gonna discuss how it mirrors that story from the Bible. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the stories that I'm seeing of people having all this backlash against the people who are bringing out the fact that a lot of these towns that were hit in North Carolina are historical sundown towns. Okay, I want to talk about the backlash. Now, I just want to say this. Even though I am not an old hen, okay, that does not mean that I am a spring chicken, okay? And so I was fully grown when Hurricane Katrina came through. And I remember the rhetoric of these very same kinds of people, both in person around where I was and online. Many of these very same people said point blank, period, out their mouth that this was God's judgment for the stuff that people were doing in that city. You know, Mardi Gras and voodoo and things like that. They said specifically that it was God's judgment on that place. You did not see these same people who are talking about, well, you don't need to be talking about that right now. You just need to be concerned about your fellow man, this, that. Okay, you did not hear these people expressing those same sentiments when it was Hurricane Katrina and it was people who didn't look like them. Because if they had been saying the same thing, you would have heard them just as loud back then as you hear them today, right? Some of these people said the most disgusting things about what people were going through during Hurricane Katrina, and saying how when they were saying that no one was coming to help and how they were in the same bodies of water with people who were no longer living and decomposing in the water, they were saying that these people were whining and asking for handouts, just some of the most despicable, deplorable kind of rhetoric you can think of. Okay, but now when you are starting to see more and more of these instances happening where people who look like them reside, now it's the U.S. government. Now it's weather manipulation. Okay, and when I had my channel back some years ago, I talked about this frequently, okay, when it comes to things like this, because you can even take this back to when we had the cough that locked everything down back here a few years ago, when people were just outraged that someone was telling them to put a mask over their mouth and wash their nasty hands, right? It was, it's some kind of conspiracy to make me put on a mask, as opposed to these same people who say they're Christians, they read their Bible, they believe in the Lord, they believe in Jesus, they believe in all these things, but the very same Bible that they say that they love and they read tells you that part of the judgment that the Most High will be sending to this earth in the end times is pestilence. And so the word doesn't tell you what's coming just so you can just be ignorant and irresponsible and just go out here being, lackadaisical. It's telling you so that you can do whatever you can, whatever is in your hand to prepare for what is coming. You can't do everything. You can't prepare for every incident or instance, but you can do what you can and then pray about the rest. But these people just all day and all night just whining and moaning about somebody asking them to put a mask on their own face. And it wasn't like anybody was, they weren't getting, I didn't see anybody get arrested. I didn't see anybody get detained. It was just, they were saying this is what is required, and they maybe didn't let you come into their store spreading your nasty germs in their store or whatever, but it wasn't like they hurt anybody, harmed anybody, locked anybody up, arrested anybody. Nothing really happened other than just people just talking and saying, okay, well, you need to do this, and that's it. Now, again, when I had my other channel, one of the things that I talked about when concerning the book of Exodus and the interaction between Pharaoh and Moses was that Moses grew up in the house of Pharaoh, which means he would have had access to the magicians and the people who worked spells and did all these different things in the house of Pharaoh. And so when Moses came to Pharaoh and said, let my people go, thus says the Most High, let my people go. And then these miracles start to happen. He was thinking that Moses is doing this, right? He was thinking Moses is doing this. He wasn't thinking that the Most High God was doing it. He was thinking Moses was doing it. And, he would say, okay, like a plague would come up and he would say, well, go to your God and ask him to get rid of this plague, and then I'll do this. And then when the plague would go away and Moses would come back to him, he would renege on what he agreed to do. And so the plagues just kept coming, right? The plagues kept coming. And they kept coming until the Most High sent that last one, right? And then that's when Pharaoh acknowledged the Most High God. And he didn't even let the people go. He kicked them out. Okay, he kicked them out and threw their reparations out along with them, right? Because I don't remember Moses ever asking for, gold and silver or anything like that, or any sort of payment. But by the time the Most High got through sending all those plagues, they was like, y'all get out and take these reparations on with you, right? It is very dangerous. And most of us in certain spaces, most of us are part of the awakening, the bloodline descendants of Jacob, recognize what's going on. For those of you who think that it is weather manipulation being sent by the United States government, but you also believe in who you call God, even if you think it's weather manipulation by some government, it would have still been the Most High who would have allowed whatever process it was that they were participating in. He would have had to be the one to allow it to come to be, to allow it to work, and to allow them to use it. So either way it goes, it's in the Most High's hand. To everybody out here trying to give everybody else, every entity, out there the credit and refusing to give in the Most High his glory, just like in original Egypt, the Heavenly Father is going to get his glory. You're going to put some respect on his name. And as I read in the Bible where it talks about how when the Heavenly Father recovers his people the second time, like he did, from the Bible in Egypt, when he does it a second time, that no one is going to talk about or reference the first Exodus, right? When you read that part of the word, it makes me, because I want you to think about this. Okay, he sent the plagues. There was the fiery whirlwind that held the Egyptians back. There was the parting of a whole Red Sea, right? Just undeniable miracles. And so I could only imagine being there and seeing those things. But when it tells you that when it happens for the second time, you are no longer going to even talk about the first time, that makes you wonder, what could the Heavenly Father possibly have planned to top that? That is both exciting and terrifying at the same time. So these people who are running around here screaming about how it's weather manipulation, right? These people are like a community of little bitty pharaohs who are refusing to acknowledge the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They are refusing to acknowledge his hand in all these things that are happening. And I'm going to get into it in a later video why that is, but they are refusing to acknowledge his hand in all of these things that are happening. And if the Pharaoh that was alive back then could come back and warn you against that, against denying the hand of the Most High and what is happening, instead of turning to him and repenting of the things that you have done and trying to make things right, I'm pretty sure he would warn you against doing that. I'm pretty sure he will warn you against refusing to acknowledge the Most High. There was a dream that I had several years ago that I recorded and put on my channel, and I may still have a copy of that. I know the audio was terrible and I really don't know how to clean it up, but there was a dream that I had spoken about, and in the dream I saw two bends, one on right off the coast of the West Coast in the Pacific Ocean, and the other one right off the coast of the East Coast, sitting in or on top of the Atlantic Ocean. And both bends had bodies in them, but the one on the Pacific coast only had a few inside the bend, whereas the one on the East Coast was filled to the top with bodies. And this was several years ago, even before the cough came about, before anyone had ever even heard of that. And so when I look at things like that, I think to myself, is that what that dream was showing me? Because when the cough happened and so many people were leaving here, and so many were leaving that they had to get refrigerated trucks to hold the bodies, I thought, well, maybe that's it, but that's not a bend and it's not in the ocean. So I'm not sure if that's it or not. But now that I'm seeing what's taking place with these hurricanes and other things that are happening on these coasts, I'm thinking, maybe that might have been what I was seeing in my dream. And if the audio isn't too bad, I may try to re-upload that one on this channel if I can. But that's going to be it for this video, you guys. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. I will be so happy to have you. You guys have a great day, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks.